Good morning, children. How are you all today? Hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to the social session. In the previous class, we learnt about the rain and rivers. So, in the session we learnt about rivers, how do they originate, how do they form as a large river, how the tributaries join to this small river, small streams and make very big, we have seen in the previous class. We also learnt about the flood plain during the season, how the river flows, and in the off season how it gets shrinks, and how the flood plain forms also we have seen. This flood plain, which is a treeless bed, becomes wide during the rainy season, and during the dry season again it shrinks and comes back. Often this flood plain is covered with silt and sand which is carried by the river. And today we are going to learn further about the flood plains, and we also learned about the vegetation which regulates the speed of the river water. If there are big trees and forests, dense forests present in the course of this river, the speed of the river also gets reduced. If you cut these trees and clear the forest, the speed of the river increases and it floods very fastly. So in these days, if you have observed in the northern states of our country, the Ganga, which takes its birth in Himalayas, it flows from the steeps of Himalayas, which was covered with a dense forest. But due to the long felling of trees and clearing of the forest for the agricultural purposes, today it's getting flooded very fastly. As a result, floods often occur in the states of Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Bengal, the Ganga flowing area. So it is one of the cause. And you also have seen and learnt about the Kerala issue, where the Western Ghats were cleared and environmental crisis occurred there. As a result, because of heavy rains during the monsoon season, they are flooding very fastly. So vegetation helps in protecting the soil, as well as it also helps in reducing the speed of the river, and it can also reduce the risk of floods in the flooding areas. Today we learn about the challenges being faced during the times of cyclones and the floods, and what precautions we need to take before the cyclone and after the cyclone. You know it very well, children, that India has a very strong coastal line. Most of the states of India have the coastal line. So because of its proximity or closity towards the coastal line, most parts of India are frequently faced with the destructive cyclones. Especially during the months of June to December, the coastal region located on the east side, the eastern coastal region, happens to be the most important region which gets affected by these cyclones. And you might have seen the heavy rains which lash onto the land, and very high tides which fall onto the land have created a devastating effect on the eastern coast. One such worst cyclone which has hit the eastern coast occurred in 1977, in which nearly 10,000 people died and hundreds of villages were washed away because of those cyclones. Famously, we call it as Divisima Uppena. It occurred in 1977. And you know, children, these cyclonic storms and the ensuing floods seen from the air, when they are seen from the air, you find the swirling winds and a completely spread sheet of water. When you observe it from the air, you can see that the cyclone, how it appears. And formation of the cyclone may look like a natural phenomenon, but over which the human beings doesn't have any control. However, the impact of these disasters can be increased or reduced with the human beings' presence, with the precautions taken by the human beings, or by the organized and how prepared we are to face the cyclones. If that awareness is provided to the people, either we can reduce or either we can increase the impact of the cyclone. The recently occurred cyclone like Hudhud cyclone, which occurred on the Visakhapatnam coast. So much before the cyclone, there was an alarming system which has given people an awareness to vacate the low-lying areas and to shift themselves or to evacuate the low-lying areas and migrate to the high areas, so that the lives, the casualties can be escaped because of the cyclone. And you know, children, if you see, most affected people of these floods or cyclones are the poor people. They are the poor people. Because often rich people have enough resources to store the food and water for many days, whereas poor people cannot have such resources to store the food and water. So the people living in the low-lying areas or the slum areas, the people living on the coastal area, if you look at the coastal area, they are completely lined up with the huts of fisher folk. Those who go for fishing, for everyday fishing, and the caught fish are sold in the day-to-day market so that they earn the wages. So these fisher folk people lined up on the coastal region, very poor people, and the people living in the slum areas who are very poor, they doesn't have resources to store the food. So these are the people who get mostly affected because of the floods. And while the immediate damage caused by the floods or cyclones, like loss of lives, loss of houses, or loss of the tools and the crops, this is all short term. But even they remain, they also cause a very long-term causes even. For example, if you have, if the cyclone has washed away the food grains stored, much of their earnings are kept in the form of the tools or in the form of the food. So when their tools or the vehicles or the small shops are washed away because of the floods and cyclones, in order to come back to their normalcy, in order to return back to their normalcy, it takes a lot of time even. So that's a long-term cause, which a long-term problem which is caused because of the cyclone. And how can people get prepared to face these cyclones or floods? Let us see today. And you know, children, this can be done through the long-term planning by the government, okay? And government in cooperation with the people has to chart out what precautions are needed in the low-lying areas in order to reduce the impact of the cyclone. Generally, the governments have installed now, because of the technology, the governments have installed the alarming gadgets on the coastal region which can predict the disasters. Especially when there is a cyclone going to occur, okay, 2-3 days before, through the radios, through the newspapers, or through the loudspeakers, they announce in these areas to evacuate and to move to the high rising apartments or to the highlands. So with this, for the last few years, we can able to reduce the casualties, and also we can able to reduce the damage occurred to the landmass. And what other things should be done in order to prepare or in order to face these disasters? Cyclones and floods are the seasonal phenomenon. So during the cyclone, we need to listen to the radio, we need to listen to the weather reports especially, so that we get an awareness at what time, at what point of time the cyclone is going to hit the land or going to cross the coast. So in these conditions, we can keep our surroundings very alert, and we can also keep our neighbors informed about the cyclones or the floods, whatever the natural disaster is about. And second, always keep an emergency kit with you which carries food, necessary food, drinking water, and important documents. These things should be, and even the telephone directory or the telephone numbers of your very near ones, you should keep them in the waterproof bags so that they doesn't get, and even the medication, the medical equipment which is required. If you are under the medication, you need to keep those medicines also packed under the emergency kit, and this kit should be carried with you in case of any emergency. The nearest available place which is safe from the floods has to be identified, and you need to shift. If you feel that your house is not strong enough to meet those winds, then immediately vacate the house and go to the government shelter which has been provided as a rescue from the disasters. And always see that don't venture out at the time of cyclones crossing the land or the coast, because there will be heavy winds, okay, and even the winds stop Okay, don't take that as a chance, because it may be an eye of the storm and you may be carried away when you go out. So do not take a risk of going out during the period of strong winds blowing. And close all the doors and windows. See that all the leakages are repaired properly before the floods or before any natural disaster occurs, and keep your house very strong. And at the same time, also see that the food grains and the drinking water sufficiently packed. If they are put on the floor, okay, put them on a raised table, okay, or on the raised platform, so that even the water enters into your house, they doesn't spoil the food grains and the water. During the period of floods and cyclone, the most important thing is you need to drink clean water. Whereas the rich people have the resources to get the protected bottled drinking water, so they drink. But whereas the poor people, they are risky, they are prone to risk as they drink the polluted water, and they are also prone for the high risky diseases like cholera, dysentery and jaundice. Okay, which even their health condition also spoils because of that drinking polluted water. There are many other precautions which has to be carried. Okay, if you need to get evacuated, okay, you need to pack all your clothes and essential medications, valuable personal papers in the emergency kit, as I told you earlier even. And put your furniture, clothing appliances on beds, and don't forget to switch off the entire the power supply to the house, switch it off, and all the gadgets, electronic gadgets, TVs, refrigerators, okay, oven, whatever electronic gadgets you have, all you switch them off, okay, do not switch on, because it may lead to the short circuit or fire breakout. And lock your house and take the recommended way while you get evacuated. Evacuation should not be done as you feel. There is a professional rescue teamers or the disaster response team will approach you in order to evacuate, and don't take the way which nobody takes, because there may be the road may get damaged, there may be holes, so manholes may get opened, so it will be very risky to walk. And whenever you evacuate, take your pets also along with you. If you have cattle or pets, okay, take them also along with you, because there will be a loss of even the pets and cattle in the floods and cyclones. And do not get into water of unknown depth. Okay, always carry a stick along with you and check the depth before you put your step. So during the floods, always drink the boiled water, okay, and keep your food also covered, and don't eat too much. Use raw tea and rice water, tender coconut water, that if it is during the diarrhea, drink the coconut water. I am telling it during the floods, and even after the floods also, check all the places very cleanly, because unknown poisonous reptiles may enter into your house, or they may come out of the holes during the floods. So check all the corners. If any mud or any kind of silt has gathered in the house, wash it properly, and once the house gets dried, then only switch on the main. Okay, when it is wet, do not try to switch on the power. First you poach and you clean the entire house. And also use the bleaching powder or oil balls, so that the mosquitoes doesn't breed. And do not let the children remain empty stomach, because they get dehydrated very fastly during the time of the floods. Okay, humidity will be very high, and they get dehydrated. So do not eat food that got wet in the water. Always eat the hot food, okay, and boil tap water before drinking in the rural areas, and be careful of the snake bites. Even snake bites are very common in the rural areas. Even you need to be very careful about the snake bites. So these are certain precautions which need to be taken care at the time of the cyclones and floods. Hope you all follow these instructions and save yourself from these natural disasters. Thank you, children.